Hi, welcome to the Crypto Republic. Before we dive in, if you're serious about staying ahead in this once-in-a-lifetime financial shift, make sure you like this video, drop a comment, and subscribe to the Crypto Republic. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. What you're about to hear may redefine how you see money, power, and technology forever. Because for the first time in modern history, the International Monetary Fund, the IMF itself, has acknowledged a new framework for a global digital currency system, one that could quietly position Ripple XRP at the very center of global liquidity. Now, that might sound bold, but remember, history has always favored those who built the rails beneath revolutions. The Medici family built double-entry bookkeeping, and trade exploded across Europe because of this. The telegraph cut communication time from weeks to seconds, reshaping banking forever. And now blockchain is doing for value what the internet once did for information. The question is, which digital asset will become the bridge between all others? And according to the new IMF findings, the answer might just be XRP. The world's financial foundation is cracking. SWIFT, the global payment network built in the 1970s, moves trillions every day, yet it still takes days to settle a transaction. It's like the equivalent of sending an email that arrives 3 business days later. That's not innovation. That's inertia. The world's financial foundation is cracking. SWIFT, the global payment network built in the 1970s, moves trillions every day, yet it still takes days to settle a transaction. It's the equivalent of sending an email that arrives 3 business days later. That's not innovation, that's inertia. Enter the IMF's new published concept, the C currency system. In their words, it's a digital marketplace where all forms of money, from CBDCs to tokenized deposits, can trade seamlessly through a neutral bridge asset. They call it C currency. We call it the missing link, the digital oil of the new economic engine. And here's the twist. This isn't theoretical. The IMF's research specifically outlines a private settlement asset already designed for this role. That model, Ripple's XRP ledger. To understand why this matters, let's rewind. When the Bretton Woods Agreement was signed in 1944, the US dollar became the world's reserve currency, not because it was perfect, but because it was trusted. Trust built empires, but in 2025, trust has migrated from governments to code, and the IMF is adapting. Their vision, a global clearinghouse where transactions don't rely on bilateral trade between banks, but on transparency, code-verified ledgers. That's exactly what XRP Ledger was engineered to do in 2012. Years before CBDC was even a term, Ripples didn't build a new currency. They built the plumbing for the Internet of Value. So let's break down what the IMF actually said and why it's shaking the foundations of global finance. In the IMF's FinTech noted titled Trusted Bridges and Money Flows, its authors, senior economists, and monetary policy directors discussed 3 potential frameworks for digital money interoperability. The first, a private settlement asset and marketplace, specifically citing Ripple's XRP. The second, an open source model referencing Stellar Lumens. The third, centralized multi-CBDC network, still theoretical. Out of all the 3, only XRP's model currently functions in live institutional corridors. Let that sink in. The IMF isn't theorizing about XRP. They're analyzing its working blueprint. To grasp the scale, think of how oil transformed industry. Before petroleum, factories ran on coal, slow, dirty, expensive. When oil came, the world industrialized overnight. Today, money runs on correspondent banking, slow, opaque, and costly. When XRP's bridge system scales, value will move like energy, frictionless and instant. And history supports this evolution. In the 15th century, Florentine bankers invented double-entry accounting to track global trade, the innovation that birthed capitalism. Now the IMF's C currency framework could become triple entry accounting for the digital age. Every transaction simultaneously verified on a neutral ledger. The IMF authors described a marketplace gravitating towards fewer currency pairs, where a third currency or C system acts as a universal intermediary. Sound familiar? That's literally XRP's raison d'etre, a bridge asset that connects all currencies without needing trust or pre-funded accounts. And here's the kicker. They don't mention Bitcoin or Ethereum in that role. Why? Because those networks were never designed for liquidity. They were designed for ideological and computation. Ripple's XRP is built for settlement, not speculation. It's the plumbing, not the pump. Let's step back for a moment. Every few generations, the global monetary system resets. 1944, Bretton Woods makes the US dollar king. 1971, Nixon ends the gold standard. Trust shifts from metal to monetary policy. In 25, we're entering what analysts call the digital Bretton Woods era. And guess who's quietly designing its blueprint? Yes, the IMF. The same institution that shaped the original post-war system. But this time, instead of physical gold backing value, it's digital liquidity that backs confidence. And that liquidity has flown freely across CBDCs, tokenized bonds, stablecoins, and traditional fiat. That's where the C currency comes in, a neutral bridge asset that ensures every digital currency speaks the same language. Imagine a translator in the United Nations meeting, instantly converting every statement into a language everyone understands. That's XRP for money. And the IMF knows that without a bridge, the world splinters into currency silos. A US-led digital dollar zone, a BRICS token zone, a EU CBDC block. Fragmentation is the enemy of efficiency. Ripple's technology is literally engineered to unify them. So when the IMF outlines a model that reduces friction, removes bilateral trust, dependencies, and references Ripple's XRP ledger, they're not predicting the future, they're mapping it. Now, while the IMF architects the framework, the private sector is moving just as fast. BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, has already launched pilot programs to tokenize real-world assets, government bonds, money market funds, and even real estate. And what's needed to settle tokenized value globally? A neutral, interoperable bridge. Meanwhile, BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa are building their own cross-border infrastructure outside the SWIFT system. Their challenge, interoperability. They can't all agree on a single settlement asset, the yuan, the ruble, the real, but they can agree on a digital intermediary that isn't politically weaponized. Enter XRP, a bridge without a flag. Here's where history rhymes again. In the 19th century, international trade relied on gold bills and merchant credit, which often failed during political tension. It wasn't until global clearinghouses adopted neutral standards that commerce stabilized. Today, the same story repeats, except the clearinghouse is digital, decentralized, and running 24/7 on distributed ledgers. XRP's on-demand liquidity, ODL, already performs this in corridors from the Philippines to Mexico, from Japan to Dubai. What's being tested now at a few $billion scale could soon underpin trillions. The IMF, World Bank, BIS have all acknowledged that the next leap in global finance depends on liquidity, synchronization, not more regularization, not more capital, but faster capital flow. That's the quiet revolution happening behind the headlines. And at the core of IMF's paper is a single word: trust. For centuries, money was backed by gold. Then it was backed by governments. Now it's backed by mathematics. In the IMF's framework, trust bridges replace trusted intermediaries. And Ripple's entire architecture is literally called a trustless bridge. When you wire money today, you trust your bank, your correspondent bank, and their regulators, each taking a slice of time and fee. With a digital bridge like XRP, trust shifts from institutions to algorithms. Transactions settle in seconds, not days. Transparency replaces assumption. It's not just efficiency, it's evolutionary. And every era of economic expansion has begun with a new trust model. The Renaissance birthed joint stock companies because people trusted contracts over kings. The industrial age thrived because railroads and telegraphs made distant trustworthy. The digital age now demands a trust protocol, and XRP might just be that. So where does this all lead? The IMF's C-currency proposal isn't just science. It's the blueprint of a post-SWIFT world, where global liquidity flows like data across an open programmable network. Ripple's technology, XRP Ledger, ODL, and ISO 222 integration already forms the connective tissue for that world. While others debate, Ripple builds. While others speculate, institutions integrate. From BlackRock's tokenized pilots to BRICS alternative payment routes. From central banks testing CBDCs to the IMF writing about C-currency models. Every sign points to a financial system being rebuilt in real time. History tells us revolutions rarely announce themselves. The printing press didn't begin with headlines. It began with a whisper of ink. The internet didn't begin with a declaration. It began with a connection. And today, the IMF's acknowledgement of Ripple's XRP's role in this new C-currency system may be that whisper. Because when the world wakes up and realizes there's a bridge asset that connects everything, currencies, banks, and people, the internet value will finally be real. And when that happens, the question won't be if XRP will play a role in the future of finance. It will be how soon you recognize it. If this opened your eyes, smash that like button, ring the bell, leave a comment with your thoughts, turn on notifications, and most importantly, subscribe to the Crypto Republic, bringing you the truth about XRP, global banking moves, and the wealth transfer already unfolding. Don't just watch history happen. Stay informed, stay ahead, stay in the Republic.